Admiral Krell of the Galactic Hegemony paced the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. His forearms were clasped behind his back, mandibles clicking in irritation as he surveyed the tactical display. The human delegation was late. Again. "Sir, the human vessel has just entered the system," reported Lieutenant Vox, her scaled fingers dancing across the control panel. Krell snorted. "About time. Put it on screen." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a small, unimpressive ship that looked barely capable of interstellar travel. Its hull was patched in places, with visible weld marks and mismatched plating. The humans called it the Defiant. "That's their diplomatic vessel?" Krell laughed, the sound echoing around the bridge. "It looks like it would fall apart if we sneezed on it." The bridge crew joined in the laughter. The hegemony had conquered 12 galaxies over 10,000 years, their technology so advanced that most species surrendered without a fight. Humans, however, were proving difficult. "Open communications," Krell ordered. Captain James Gray appeared on screen, his weathered face betraying no emotion. "Admiral Krell, sorry we're late. Had a bit of trouble with the hyperdrive." "I can imagine," Krell replied, not bothering to hide his disdain. "Captain Gray, the Hegemony Council awaits your answer. Will Earth join our empire peacefully, or must we make an example of your species?" Gray smiled thinly. "That's why we're here, Admiral, to demonstrate why that would be a bad idea." Krell's upper eye ridge rose. "A demonstration? With that ship?" He gestured dismissively at the Defiant. "Appearances can be deceiving," Gray replied. "We request permission to demonstrate our new defense system." Krell considered for a moment. The humans were clearly bluffing, but it might be amusing to humor them before crushing their pathetic resistance. "Permission granted. Though I fail." "To see what difference it will make." Gray nodded. "Thank you, Admiral. Oh, and you might want to adjust your sensors to quantum band frequencies. Standard scanners won't pick up what we're about to show you." The communication ended and Krell turned to his science officer. "Do as he suggests. Let's see this demonstration." Minutes passed as the Defiant maneuvered to an empty section of space. The Hegemony's massive fleet of 2,000 warships watched with barely concealed amusement. "Sir," Lieutenant Vox called out, her voice suddenly tense, "I'm detecting unusual energy readings from the human vessel." "What kind of readings?" Krell demanded. "Unknown, sir. It's like the fabric of space itself is being manipulated." Krell frowned. "Impossible. Their technology is centuries behind." He never finished the sentence. The space around the Defiant rippled as if reality itself was being torn apart. Then, in an instant, the ripples vanished, revealing a massive warship where there had been empty space before. The vessel was enormous, easily rivaling the Eternal Dominion in size. Its sleek black hull absorbed light rather than reflected it, making its true dimensions difficult to gauge. Weapons ports lined its sides, all currently closed but unmistakably present. The bridge fell silent. "That's impossible," Krell whispered, all four of his arms gripping the command rail in shock. Lieutenant Vox's scales had paled to a sickly yellow. "Sir, the vessel was there all along. It was hidden somehow, and there are more energy signatures forming." As they watched, more ripples appeared in space. One by one, massive warships materialized, emerging from whatever impossible technology had concealed them. 10 ships, 20, 50. By the time the demonstration was complete, 200 human warships surrounded the Defiant. Captain Gray's face reappeared on the view screen. "Admiral Krell, allow me to properly introduce the Earth Defense Fleet. What you just witnessed is our quantum displacement field in action." Krell could only stare, speechless. Gray smiled. "Now, shall we discuss the terms of our alliance?" The Hegemony Council chamber was in chaos. Beings from a dozen species shouted over each other, some demanding immediate military action against the humans, others advocating for caution. High Counselor Drav, the ancient, 12-foot-tall representative of the founding Vex species, slammed his gravitic gavel on the podium. The sound resonated through the chamber, bringing instant silence. "Order," he bellowed, his voice amplified by the chamber's acoustics. "We will address this crisis with reason, not panic." Admiral Krell stood at attention before the semicircular array of council members. His pride still smarted from the human demonstration 3 days prior. "Admiral," Drav continued, "explain again how these primitives managed to conceal an entire fleet from the mightiest empire in known space." Krell cleared his throat. "Based on our analysis, the humans have developed a technology they call a quantum displacement field. It doesn't merely cloak their ships in the conventional sense. It shifts them slightly out of phase with normal space-time." "Impossible," shouted Counselor Mez, slamming all 6 of her hands on the table. "Such technology would require manipulation of fundamental cosmic forces." "Nevertheless," Krell replied, "they have achieved it. Our best scientists are still trying to understand how. What's more concerning is that our scans detected no energy signature from these vessels until they chose to reveal themselves." The implication hung heavy in the air. If the humans could hide warships, they could hide anything. The hegemony's military superiority, maintained through superior detection and targeting systems, was suddenly questionable. "And what of this human, this Captain Gray?" asked Drav. "What does he want?" Krell projected a hologram showing Gray's official demands. "The humans don't seek war, they propose an alliance, but as equals, not subjects. They wish to maintain their independence while gaining access to hegemony trade routes." "Preposterous," exclaimed Counselor Mez. "No species joins the hegemony as equals. They must prove their worth through service and tribute." Drav stroked his crystalline beard thoughtfully. "And yet, these humans have proven something already, haven't they? They've demonstrated technology we thought impossible. We should obliterate them now," Counselor Thex suggested, his insectoid mandibles clicking rapidly. "Before they grow stronger." "With what?" Krell asked sharply. "We don't know how many ships they have or where they are. For all we know, Earth could be surrounded by thousands of these vessels." The chamber fell quiet as the implications sank in. Meanwhile, in another part of the massive hegemony station, Captain Gray sat in a sparsely furnished waiting room alongside his 2 officers, Lieutenant Reed and Dr. Walker. They had been kept waiting for hours, a typical hegemony tactic to establish dominance. "Think they're buying it?" Reed whispered, barely audible. Gray gave an almost imperceptible nod. "Hook, line, and sinker." Walker nervously adjusted her uniform. "I still can't believe we're pulling this off." "Belief is irrelevant," Gray replied quietly. "We just need them to believe it." The truth was far more desperate than the hegemony knew. Earth had exactly 201 warships to its name, all of which were now visible to the hegemony. The quantum displacement field was real enough, but it couldn't hide ships at all. What it could do, however, was create convincing holographic projections indistinguishable from the real thing, complete with falsified quantum signatures. It was the greatest bluff in human history. The door slid open, and a hegemony official appeared. "The council will see you now." Gray stood straightening his uniform. "Remember," he whispered to his officers, "no matter what happens in there, act like we're holding all the cards." They walked into the chamber with the confident stride of those who commanded invisible fleets, their faces betraying nothing of the desperate gamble they were undertaking. Technical Officer Lori Walker's fingers trembled slightly as she calibrated the holographic emitters aboard the Defiant. Each adjustment had to be perfect. The slightest error in the quantum signature matrices would reveal their elaborate deception. "How? Much longer?" Captain Gray asked, his voice low. "Almost there," Walker replied. "The field projectors need recalibration after each use, or the holograms start to show phase inconsistencies." Gray nodded, his face betraying none of the anxiety he felt. They were in the heart of enemy territory, surrounded by the most powerful military force known to exist, armed with nothing but smoke, mirrors, and audacity. "Sir," Lieutenant Reed called from the communications console, "the Hegemony Council has reached a decision. They're requesting our presence." "Tell them we'll be there shortly," Gray responded. "Walker." "Done," she confirmed, securing the final calibration. "But Captain, The emitters are showing strain. I don't know how many more times we can project the fleet before something fails. Gray placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Let's hope we won't need to. Reed, you're with me. Walker, monitor the QD field from here. If anything starts to destabilize, let me know immediately. As Gray and Reed made their way to the shuttle bay, Gray activated his secure comm. Thomas, status report. Admiral Thomas's voice came through, slightly distorted by the encryption. Earth's defenses are at maximum readiness, Captain. The real fleet is deployed in a defensive formation. If this goes sideways, it won't, Gray assured him with more confidence than he felt. The hegemony believes we have technology far beyond their understanding. Fear of the unknown is our greatest weapon right now. The shuttle journey to the hegemony station was tense and silent. Reed finally broke it as they approached the docking bay. Sir, what if they demand a closer inspection of one of our phantom ships? Gray's expression remained impassive. Then we'll have to get creative, won't we? The hegemony council chamber seemed smaller now, with only 3 council members present: Drav, Mez, and Thex. Admiral Krell stood to the side, his posture rigid. Captain Gray, High Counselor Drav began. After much deliberation, the hegemony is prepared to offer Earth special protectorate status. You would maintain internal autonomy while benefiting from our protection and trade networks. Gray kept his expression neutral. And in return, you will share your quantum displacement. Technology with the hegemony, Counselor Mez stated flatly. Gray allowed himself a small smile. I'm afraid that won't be possible. You dare refuse? Thex's mandibles clacked angrily. The technology is not mine to give, Gray explained calmly. Earth's government has classified it at the highest level. I am authorized to negotiate alliance. Terms, not technological exchange. Krell stepped forward. This is unacceptable. The hegemony does not form alliances. It absorbs or conquers. Then perhaps it's time for the hegemony to evolve, Gray suggested, because conquest is no longer an option. Drav raised a hand, silencing Krell's brewing retort. Captain Gray speaks boldly for someone whose homeworld remains vulnerable. Does it? Gray asked innocently. How do you know we haven't deployed our technology throughout our solar system? For all you know, Earth could be surrounded by thousands of displaced warships, invisible to your sensors. The implied threat hung in the air. Drav studied Gray intently, his ancient eyes searching for any sign of deception. You play a dangerous game, human. It's not a game to us, Gray replied. Earth has remained independent throughout its history. We won't surrender that independence now, not even to the hegemony. A tense silence filled the chamber. Then Gray's communicator beeped urgently. Excuse me, he said, stepping aside to answer it. Walker's voice came through tense and rushed. Captain, we have a problem. The emitters are failing. The fleet projections will destabilize within 20 minutes. Gray's heart raced, but his face revealed nothing as he returned to the council. I apologize for the interruption, he said smoothly. Now where were we? Ah yes, discussing the terms of our alliance. In the depths of the Eternal Dominion's engineering section, Chief Science Officer Plex hunched over quantum scanning equipment, his 8 eyes blinking rapidly as he processed the data. Curious, he muttered. Most curious indeed. Admiral Krell loomed behind him. Explain. Plex pointed a slender appendage at the display. The human ships emit quantum signatures unlike anything in our records. However, there's a pattern to the fluctuations. See these oscillation nodes? They repeat every 12.7 microcycles. Meaning? Krell demanded impatiently. Meaning, Plex continued, that there might be a way to penetrate their displacement field. If we calibrate our scanners to synchronize with these oscillations. Do it, Krell ordered. Immediately. Plex hesitated. Admiral, the Council ordered us to cease all aggressive actions toward the humans during negotiations. Krell's mandibles twitched. This isn't aggression. It's intelligence gathering. Proceed. Back, in the council chamber, Gray maintained his composure despite the ticking clock. Walker had bought them some time by rerouting power from non-essential systems, but the holographic fleet would begin failing soon. Your terms are generous, Gray acknowledged to the Council, but insufficient. Earth requires unrestricted access to all hegemony trade routes and scientific databases. Outrageous, Councillor Mez exclaimed. Even our oldest allies don't enjoy such privileges. We're not asking to be allies, Gray countered. We're proposing to be partners. High Councillor, Drav leaned forward. And if we refuse? Gray shrugged casually. Then we go our separate ways, with our technology intact and exclusive to Earth. Lieutenant Reed's communicator vibrated silently against his wrist. He glanced down at the message from Walker. Emitters critical. 10 minutes remaining. Reed subtly tapped Gray's foot under the table. Gray nodded almost imperceptibly before addressing the Council again. I believe we've discussed enough for today. My government will need time to consider your proposal. We haven't finished, Councillor Thex began. Actually, we have, Gray interrupted, standing. My ship needs to perform maintenance on its displacement systems. A routine procedure, but one that requires my presence. As if on cue, the chamber's communication system chimed. Admiral Krell's face appeared on the central display. High Councillor, forgive the interruption, but I have urgent information regarding the human vessels. Drav nodded. Proceed, Admiral. Our sensors have detected anomalies in the quantum signatures of the human fleet. Chief Science Officer Plex believes that's classified hegemony intelligence, Admiral. Gray interrupted sharply. Not appropriate for an open diplomatic channel. Krell's eyes narrowed. How convenient for you, Captain. Gray turned to face the Council. I find it disturbing that the hegemony would conduct scans of our fleet during peace negotiations. Such actions could be considered hostile. Drav raised a hand. Admiral Krell, secure channel. The display switched to a private mode, invisible to the humans. Gray used the moment to check his own communicator. Walker's message was blunt. 5 minutes. Reed leaned close. Sir, we need to leave. Now. Gray nodded and addressed the Council when they returned their attention to him. Council members, I must insist we adjourn. My engineers inform me that the displacement field requires immediate attention. Of course, Drav said, his tone suddenly silky. We wouldn't want anything to happen to your impressive fleet. There was something in the way he said it that sent a chill down Gray's spine. As they left the chamber, Reed whispered, They know. They suspect, Gray corrected quietly. There's a difference. We just need to get back to the Defiant before the emitters fail completely. They quickened their pace toward the shuttle bay, but as they rounded a corner, they found their path blocked by a squadron of hegemony guards, with Admiral Krell at the center. Captain Gray, Krell said, his voice heavy with triumph. Going somewhere? The hegemony guards raised their weapons, the energy cells humming ominously as they charged. Admiral Krell, Gray acknowledged calmly. Is there a problem? I think you know exactly what the problem is, Krell replied. Our scientists have detected fluctuations in your fleet's quantum signatures. Curious how they all share identical oscillation patterns, almost as if they were projections from a single source. Gray maintained his poker face. The quantum displacement field creates harmonic resonance between vessels. It's a side effect of the technology. Is it? Krell stepped closer. Or is it the signature of an elaborate hoax? Reed tensed beside Gray, his hand inching toward his concealed sidearm. Easy, Gray murmured, almost imperceptibly. Then louder. Admiral, I must return to my ship immediately. The displacement field requires maintenance every 12 hours or it becomes unstable. How convenient, Krell sneered. Let me propose an alternative explanation. There is no fleet. There is no revolutionary technology. Just smoke and mirrors to trick the hegemony. Gray's communicator vibrated. 3 minutes remaining. That's quite an accusation, Gray replied. Care to test your theory? If you're wrong, the consequences could be unfortunate. Uncertainty flickered across Krell's features. Exactly what Gray had been counting on. the fear of the unknown. "Sir," one of the hegemony officers approached Krell. "The High Council is requesting your presence. Immediately." Krell hesitated, clearly torn between detaining the humans and obeying the summons. "We'll continue this discussion later, Captain," he finally said. "You're free to return to your vessel, for now. But, be advised, you will not leave this system without the Council's permission." As Krell and most of his guards departed, Gray and Reed resumed their brisk walk toward the shuttle bay, 2 guards following at a distance. "That was close," Reed whispered. "It's not over yet," Gray responded quietly. "Walker needs to buy us more time." When they reached their shuttle, Gray opened a secure channel to the Defiant. "Walker status?" "Critical, sir," came the tense reply. "I've rerouted every spare ounce of power, but the emitters are failing. 1 minute, maybe 2. "We need 5 to get back," Gray calculated. "Can you create a diversion?" "I might have something," Walker replied, "but it'll drain what's left of our projection capability." "Do it," Gray ordered as they boarded the shuttle. Moments later, alarms blared throughout the hegemony station. Emergency lighting bathed the corridors in red as announcements echoed in multiple languages. "Attention all personnel. Unidentified. Energy surge detected. Possible spatial disruption in progress." On the station's bridge, chaos erupted as officers reported multiple new contacts appearing throughout the system. "More human ships?" High Counselor Drav demanded. "Impossible to confirm," an officer replied. "The energy signatures match their displacement field, but they're unstable, shifting position rapidly." Admiral Krell stared at the tactical display, in disbelief. Where there had been 200 vessels before, now thousands of energy signatures flickered in and out of sensor range, creating the impression of a massive armada materializing around them. "Is this an attack?" Counselor Mez asked, fear evident in her voice. Drav turned to Krell. "Admiral, your assessment?" Krell studied the readings, noting the increasingly erratic nature of the signatures. "It could be a prelude to an attack, or a malfunction in their cloaking system, or a distraction," Drav suggested shrewdly. "Where is the human shuttle?" Aboard said shuttle, Gray and Reed watched with grim satisfaction as the hegemony forces scrambled to respond to Walker's final gambit, a cascading failure of the QD emitters that created thousands of phantom signatures before burning out completely. "Will it work?" Reed asked tensely. "It doesn't need to work," Gray replied, piloting the shuttle at maximum speed toward the Defiant. "It just needs to confuse them long enough for us to escape." As they approached their ship, the last of the Phantom fleet began to fade from hegemony sensors. The Defiant's engines were already warming up, ready for immediate departure. "Captain," Walker called as they docked, "the emitters are completely burned out. Our bluff is exposed." Gray rushed to the bridge. "Status of hegemony vessels?" "They're moving to blockade formation," Reed reported, taking his station. "We're about to be surrounded." Gray settled into the captain's chair. "Walker, divert all power to engines and shields. Reed, plot a course for the jump point." "Sir," Reed protested, "we'll never outrun their interceptors." Gray smiled thinly. "Who said anything about outrunning them?" The Defiant surged forward, its engines pushing well beyond safety parameters. On the view screen, the massive hegemony warships moved to intercept, their weapon systems powering up. "They're targeting our engines," Reed reported, his hands flying, over the tactical console. Gray nodded. "As expected." "Walker, status of the secondary system?" "Online and ready," Walker confirmed, her voice steadier now that they were committed to action. "But sir, it's never been field tested at this scale." "No time like the present," Gray replied. "Execute on my mark." The ship shuddered as a warning shot from the lead hegemony vessel passed close by their port side. Admiral Krell's face appeared on the view screen. "Captain Gray, power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Your deception has been exposed." Gray gave him a tight smile. "Admiral, I strongly advise you to move your vessels out of our departure vector." "Or what?" Krell scoffed. "Your Phantom fleet can't help you now." Who said anything about the fleet? Gray asked innocently. Mark. Walker activated the ship's secondary system, the actual technological breakthrough that Earth had been keeping secret. Not a quantum displacement field, but something far more revolutionary. A gravitational inversion drive. Space around the Defiant began to warp visibly. The laws of physics themselves seemed to bend as the ship generated a localized inversion of gravitational forces. Matter that should have been attracted was suddenly repelled. The effect on nearby hegemony ships was immediate and dramatic. They were thrown backward as if struck by an invisible tidal wave, tumbling helplessly through space as their gravity control systems failed to compensate for the impossible phenomenon. By the cosmos, Reed whispered, watching the massive warships, scattered like toys. Full power to the GI drive, Gray ordered. Get us to the jump point before they recover. The Defiant accelerated rapidly, riding the wavefront of its own gravitational anomaly, leaving chaos in its wake. In the hegemony flagship, now tumbling end over end, Admiral Krell clung to his command chair. Stabilize! Get us stabilized now! Impossible, his helmsman shouted back. Whatever they're doing, it's negating our gravity systems. On the main viewer, they watched helplessly as the small human vessel shot past their disabled fleet, headed for the system's jump point. Intercept them with long-range weapons, Krell ordered. Targeting systems are offline, came the frustrated reply. The gravitational distortions are affecting our sensor arrays. High Counselor Drav's voice came through on the emergency channel. Admiral Krell, what just happened? Krell's mandibles clicked in agitation. The humans, they didn't have a cloaking technology at all. The fleet was a diversion. Their real breakthrough is some kind of gravitational weapon. Impossible, Drav stated flatly. Gravity manipulation at that scale would require technology far beyond what we thought they possessed, Krell finished grimly. Exactly. Aboard the Defiant, the bridge crew watched tensely as the jump point grew larger on their view screen. Behind them, the hegemony ships were beginning to regain control, but too late to prevent their escape. GI drive at maximum, Walker reported. Core temperature rising. We can maintain this for another 2 minutes at most before risking a breach. That's all we need, Gray assured her. Reed, status of pursuit? They're recovering faster than anticipated, Reed replied. Picking up energy readings. They're preparing to fire long-range weaponry. Gray nodded calmly. Walker, divert auxiliary power to aft shields. The ship shuddered slightly as the GI drive pushed its components to their limits. The jump point was now clearly visible, a shimmering distortion in space that would allow them to escape to faster-than-light travel. 30 seconds to jump capability, Reed announced. Hegemony vessels locking weapons, Walker warned. Gray gripped the arms of his command chair. Steady. The first salvo of hegemony weapons fire streaked toward them, most shots going wide, due to the gravitational distortion still affecting the area. 20 seconds. A glancing hit rocked the ship. Warning lights flashed across Walker's console. Shield integrity at 60%. 10 seconds. Another hit, more direct this time. The lights flickered momentarily. 5 seconds. 4. 3. The Defiant reached the jump point just as the hegemony fleet launched its full barrage. Space itself seemed to fold around the small ship as it activated its FTL drive in concert with the gravitational anomaly they'd created. The resulting space-time distortion was like nothing either humans or the hegemony had ever witnessed. The jump point expanded briefly, then collapsed with a flash of energy that temporarily blinded all nearby sensors. When the hegemony ships could see again, the Defiant was gone. Did we destroy them? Krell asked hopefully. His science officer shook his head. No, Admiral. They created a new type of jump point. Our sensors can't even begin to track where they've gone. Krell stared at the empty space where the human ship had been. That's impossible, he whispered, but with far less conviction than before. 3 weeks later, the Galactic Hegemony Central Command was still in an uproar. The human incident, as it had come to be known, had shaken the Empire's confidence to its core. Admiral Krell stood at rigid attention before the full Hegemony Council, all 27 members from across the Empire's conquered species. Let me summarize what we know, High Counselor Drav said, his ancient voice resonating through the chamber. The humans possesses not one but two technologies we considered theoretically impossible, a gravitational inversion drive and an enhanced jump point generator. The fleet was a deception, Krell admitted, but the threat they pose is very real. And how did your vaunted intelligence network miss these developments? Counselor Mez demanded. Krell's mandibles twitched in discomfort. We underestimated them. Human technological progress has historically been incremental, not revolutionary. Something has changed. Indeed it has. A new voice echoed through the chamber. All heads turned toward the entrance where Captain James Gray stood flanked by a delegation of 6 humans in formal uniforms. How did you get in here? Counselor Thex demanded, rising from his seat. This is a closed session. Gray smiled. We were invited by High Counselor Drav. All eyes turned to the ancient leader, who nodded slowly. I did. It seems prudent to hear what the humans have to say directly. Gray approached the center of the chamber, displaying none of the awe or intimidation most species showed when first addressing the full council. 3 weeks ago, we demonstrated a fraction of what humanity is capable of, Gray began. Not to threaten you, but to ensure you would take us seriously. By lying about a phantom fleet? Krell interjected. By showing you that appearances can be deceiving, Gray countered smoothly. The quantum displacement field was a fiction, yes, but what it represented, humanity's capacity for innovation, is very real. He activated a small projector, displaying technical specifications of the gravitational inversion drive. This is what we actually developed. A technology your scientists deemed impossible because you've been following the same technological path for thousands of years. Humans took a different approach because we had to. We lacked the resources and time to duplicate your methods. Drav leaned forward, studying the schematics with evident fascination. This shouldn't work. And yet it does, Gray replied. Just as our enhanced jump drive works, allowing us to travel faster and farther than your vessels. Why reveal this now? Drav asked. You could have kept these advantages secret. Gray nodded to one of his officers, who activated a larger holographic display. It showed star charts of a region far beyond hegemony space. Because there are threats coming that concern us all. During our enhanced jump, we detected these. The display zoomed in, showing massive structures at the edge of the galaxy, artificial constructs of unknown origin. The council chamber fell silent. We believe they've been observing both human and hegemony space for centuries, Gray continued. Their technology dwarfs anything either of us possesses individually, but together. You propose alliance after your deception? Krell asked incredulously. Gray turned to face him directly. We propose survival, Admiral. Earth stands ready to share our gravitational technology in exchange for hegemony assistance developing defensive applications. High Counselor Drav raised a hand, silencing the murmurs that had broken out among the council. Captain Gray, the hegemony has never formed an alliance of equals in its 10,000-year history. Then perhaps, Gray suggested, it's time for something impossible. The chamber erupted in debate, with counselors arguing passionately for and against the unprecedented proposal. Through it all, Drav watched the humans thoughtfully. When the noise reached its peak, he activated his gravitic gavel, bringing immediate silence. For 10 millennia, Drav said slowly, the hegemony has conquered because we believed ourselves unmatched in science and warfare. Today, a species we dismissed as primitive has proven otherwise. He turned to Gray. Your deception was impressive. Your technology more so. But trust must be earned. We're prepared to demonstrate our good faith, Gray replied, nodding to one of his officers who stepped forward with a data crystal. Complete schematics for the gravitational inversion drive. Consider it a down payment on our future cooperation. Admiral Krell stared in disbelief. You would give us your most valuable technological advantage? No. Gray corrected him. We're giving you the means to help us face what's coming. The real threat isn't in this room, Admiral. It's out there. The hologram of the mysterious structures loomed over the chamber, a silent reminder of unknown dangers beyond their borders. High Counselor Drav took the data crystal, studying it momentarily before making his pronouncement. The Galactic Hegemony formally recognizes Earth as an autonomous partner in mutual defense and scientific exchange. As the Council members registered various degrees of shock, Gray extended his hand in the human gesture of agreement. After a moment's hesitation, Drav extended his own crystalline appendage to meet it. Admiral Krell watched the historic moment unfold, his worldview irrevocably altered. For thousands of years, the hegemony had believed the universe held no more surprises for them, no challenges they couldn't overcome through superior force and established technology. It had taken a small ship with a desperate bluff and impossible technology to prove them wrong. As the human delegation prepared to depart, Krell approached Gray in the corridor. "How did you know we wouldn't call your bluff?" he asked quietly. Gray smiled. "We didn't. But humanity has survived by taking risks when necessary. Sometimes, Admiral, the impossible becomes possible simply because someone was desperate enough to try." The end.